The Saints get a good old-fashioned whipping at the hands of the Oilers.
Oh, look at this. He does it every time. You never get to the Super Bowl that way, Mora.
Coming up, Who-Dats take to the stage to be Saints for a day. We'll take you fishing with the foot. We'll go one-on-one with the Saints' eldest statesman. And we'll meet a New Orleans boy making his father proud. Cheer up. It's only preseason, and Saints Sideline is next.
Saints Sideline, brought to you by Midas. Nobody beats Midas. Nobody. Your local Isuzu dealers. Budweiser. Nothing beats Saints football, and nothing beats a Bud. And by Lennox. It must be a Lennox.
This is an exclusive presentation of WGNO Sports. Ed Daniels, Alexander Laurent, Saints Sideline.
Hello and thank you for joining us on Saints Sideline. I'm Alexander Laurent.
And I'm Ed Daniels.
It's Saturday in the Superdome. The Saints got a big dose of humility. The Houston Oilers totally dominated the Saints. It wasn't a pretty sight.
It was awful. It was ugly. It was a mess. And Jim Mora had lots more to say about it. Let's hope that it's not a true indication of where the Saints are as a football team as the regular season opener, when they count, approaches against Philadelphia. The Saints were beaten about every way possible Saturday, and the Oilers did it on national TV. Jim Mora is hoping that not a lot of people were watching. The videotape was rolling, anticipation in the air, as Jim Mora's post-game news conference approached. Would Mora explode?
I hope we've never been worse. If we have, it'd be really bad. That just is horrible, wasn't it? My God. It's embarrassing. It was on national, was that on national TV, really?
Yeah. The blackout locally was some good.
Thank God.
Bobby Hebert was on target 3 times to Oilers in 1/2. For the consistent Hebert, the game was a nightmare. He wasn't alone. Drop passes, open Oiler receivers. It was horrible. Imagine how CBS felt. The Saints got a 33-3 kicking and again saved their worst for special teams.
The kicking in the first half, I'm sure people vomited in the stands when they watched our kicking game. I'm sure they vomited in the stands.
The Saints sure missed Eric Martin, his specialty making the tough catch in traffic. Martin was at the Dome as his agent negotiated with Jim Finks.
Remember we talked about our receiver corps being decent? Our receiver corps now, they don't have all the receivers in camp. Of course, we are lacking one, but did you see all those passes we dropped today? Very, very disappointing in that group. But they weren't the only ones.
Jim Mora was disappointed with the Saints, and so were the sports writers in Houston. Here's what they're saying. Al Carter of the Houston Post writes, even Saturday Night Live's Cajun Man's limited vocabulary could have told the tale of the Oilers' blowout of the Saints. In a word, it was humiliation. Carter also writes, for a Superdome load of Saints fans, nothing but dejection. And does Cajun Man know the word interception? He does now. For the Saints, there was rejection. And for the Oilers, jubilation. Of course, Saturday's debacle won't count. The 1992 season gets started on September 6th in Philadelphia. It'll be opening day number 12 for big number 94, Jim Wilks. At 34, Wilks is the oldest player on the team, but he feels he has at least a couple more good years in him.
I came from a big family, 5 brothers and 5 sisters. We all had to contribute around the house. There was always things that we had to do. Mow the lawn, take out the garbage, you know, walk the dog. I was tall, I was skinny, you know, growing up in a rough neighborhood. The guys I grew up with didn't take much stuff, so, you know, I couldn't push any of them around. I always wanted to play football when I was a young kid. My mom wouldn't let me play. I was a baseball player when I was growing up, and, you know, when I got old enough to play, I didn't need my parents' consent to play, which was in high school. I just started playing. Then I forgot about baseball and basketball and just concentrated on football. You know, we struggled a lot at the beginning of my career here, and you know, we had Bum Phillips here. The team had gone through a bunch of changes with coaches and non-winning seasons and all, and you know, I came here and we were doing the same thing, not really winning. We'd go 8-8, but you know, never really a winning season until recently we started winning, and you know, things just started to turn around for us all.
Wilks. We came here, his character was so good that he lent an air of stability that this team didn't have at the time, and now people around him are like him, and I've always felt that a great player will make other players around him play better.
Well, I like to think I haven't changed very much. You know, I know I'm getting older and probably slowing down a little bit. I like to think not, but I probably am. In terms of football, my future isn't real long. You know, I'm 34 now, and I see myself probably playing 2 more years or so and contributing as much as I can in those 2 years, and after that, I don't know where my future is in football, really. The last 2 seasons have just been great. You know, last year was our 25th anniversary, and we came out, defense played well, offense played well, special teams played well, and we made it to the playoffs again, and again we were stopped in the first round. We're just going to have to try and find a way to get over the hump and make it past that point.
Coming up next, we'll go fishing for Children's Hospital with Morten Andersen.
And Who Dat's On Stage, the play dedicated to life in the dome. That and much more when Saints Sideline continues.
The Children's Miracle Network Telethon, a raffle was held for a very special fishing trip. A pair of winners claimed their prize and took to the seas with Morten Andersen. Don Dubuc has the story.
16 weekends a year, Morten Andersen makes his living kicking. And it's no secret those kicks also earn big bucks for New Orleans Children's Hospital. During the off-season, Morten, with the help of pro guide Cesar Aldaya and the crew of the charter boat Ruffian, turned one of his favorite pastimes, fishing, into yet another fundraiser for the hospital.
We fished around the rigs a little bit out there. We got about 30, 35 miles out, and we didn't quite get to the rib where the blue water was, but we did catch one nice lemon fish and had a lot of bites, but it was nice, you know.
All right. Whoa. Here it goes. Carl and Angie Leggett, fans of fishing and football, were the lucky winners.
Started with my mother. She won the trip, actually, and she's 70 years old, and she asked us if we'd like to take the trip instead, which we did, and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Y'all don't let me get pulled overboard.
I go from the outside. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Got it. Good.
It was exciting. I have never caught a fish that big before in my life, and it fought, not real bad, but enough to satisfy my enjoyment.
We'll have dinner.
Yeah, good fish.
Thanks. We sit in front of the TV every Sunday watching them, feeling the highs and lows just like everybody else.
Fishing guides Eric Hansen and Bobby Quave are also Saints fans, even though they lure fishermen away from the Gulf. Well, do the Saints games hurt your business any on Sunday afternoons, or do y'all use
Absolutely. If they have a winning season, Sundays are a little bit slower here. Fewer calls. But I'd rather see them win sometimes. Now, the question is, 50 years from now, will Morten Andersen, the kicker, make the NFL Hall of Fame? Probably. The Fishing Hall of Fame? Probably not. But to the patients of New Orleans Children's Hospital and their families, Morten Andersen, the friend, will always be #1.
You know that over the years, Morten has donated over $600,000 to Children's Hospital, and he's put a lot into the community where he makes his living and makes us all proud that he's from New Orleans.
For Saints Sideline, I'm Don Dubuc.
The big theatrical catch for Who Dats is that movie Pictures in Mid-City, New Orleans. A couple of New Orleans natives have immortalized life in the dome with a new play called Saints for a Day. Doug Mouton has more.
And not only that, this is a birthday present. Oh, how exciting, taking your husband him into a Saints game for his birthday.
No, it's my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Well, this is Sunday afternoon in the Superdome, and the Falcons are in town.
Now, I must confess, I've harbored impure thoughts in my heart towards a certain football team from Atlanta. Now, I know all teams are created equal, but I just can't abide the Falcons.
It just seemed like such a natural. Here in New Orleans, we think us Saints fans are something special, and I think even around the country they're recognized as being a little different, a little offbeat.
For anyone who spent some time in the Superdome, the characters in Saints for a Day are all too familiar. In fact, I kept looking for the guy with "Joe loves a Saints victory" on the back of his shirt.
Please watch your language in front.
Joe must be back in section 601, but these guys could be anywhere in the terrace.
Look at him. See what I told you? Hey, pal, what's that, holy water?
It sure is. I blessed it myself.
Yeah, I hope you take a cab home tonight.
We're real pleased with it. The game does come through, the heart comes through, the caring, you know, for the audience, that they really honestly do care about the characters, you know. And even though it gets pretty wacky, or, you know, or as Al Shea would say, madcap.
Peanuts! I swear that's John Forte selling peanuts. Oh, yeah!
Doug Mouton for Saints Sideline.
Alex, there's a long-running play in Chicago called Bleacher Bums about Cubs fans. John Grimsley said he got the idea of Saints for a Day from that play.
And Saints for a Day is scheduled to run at least through September, and they may add a few more weeks. It's going to be running at movie pictures. Coming up next, the New Orleans boy comes back to the Dome wearing Oiler blue, and his father couldn't be prouder. We'll meet Eddie Robinson Jr. and Sr. when Saints Sideline continues.
There wasn't much execution in the 33-3 pounding that Houston put on New Orleans, but upstairs in the Dome, there was at least a reason to be optimistic as two holdouts came to terms.
Saints starting 1991 safeties Fred Maxey and Gene Atkins each have new 2-year contracts, ending their holdouts at 33 days. Atkins watched the Oiler game in the press box.
I just wanted what's fair for Gene Atkins, and I think right now the Saints know that, and I know that, and now that's why I'm here now, and I think the deal that I signed is a fair deal.
What Atkins saw was the Oilers secondary ringing up the hits. Bubba McDowell knocked Quinn Early out of the game on the game's third play. McDowell last year leveled wide receiver Danny Peebles, ending his career.
Did the Peebles thing cross your mind again?
Oh, very much so, yeah. When I hit him, it really did. And I think that if he hadn't been going down at the time when I was coming in, I think it probably would have been the same situation all over again.
It just wasn't the Oiler defensive backs doing the hitting. One New Orleans native was also taking his shots at Saints. Linebacker Eddie Robinson Jr. returned to the floor of the Dome as his biggest fan watched from the sidelines.
Who got a bigger kick out of the homecoming? Number 50 Eddie Robinson Jr. or Sr., security chief at the Dome for 17 years, since Eddie was 5.
He's standing right here with the helmet on his head, E. Robinson. I can't really explain to you how proud I am. You know, I really can't explain it to you. And like I said, the most thing is he still has the academic accomplishment. And that's the things that go along with this. And you have to put both of them together. And that's make me even more proud.
Eddie Robinson Jr. took a different route than most to the NFL second round. A 230-pound guard at Brother Martin, he didn't exactly have recruiters buzzing. Number 50 went to Alabama State on an academic scholarship. The chemistry whiz then switched formulas to linebacker, then started knocking people down.
I was always a Ricky Jackson fan growing up. I had the same number in college and that type of stuff. So, but you know, I was being on opposite sides of the ball. I just watch him a lot and try to model my game after his a little bit. But you know, we just don't rush the pass as much as the Saints do from the linebacker position.
The kid is so honest that he turned in $70 that he found on the ground to his college coach. Unassuming he is, but don't tell that to the Saints' Cedric Smith. This young linebacker has talent, a mean streak, lots of potential.
I had no idea that he would be pro material. My thoughts to him was, hey, get an education, utilize the sports to get you an education, and then we'll go from that point.
CBS even put the big guy senior, that is, on national TV. It was Eddie Sr.'s day, make no mistake about that. His son may play in the NFL, but more so, his son was a success. A young man any dad would be proud of.
I am 10 feet tall right now. I came out, this is not my event, okay? This is my co-worker's event. I made sure the lights were on, made sure that the doors were ready when they came. I was on the field, made sure that the trainers got anything that they needed.
Alex, when the Oilers worked out at the Dome Friday before the game, Eddie Robinson Sr. said he's seeing his son on the Dome floor made it the biggest day of his life. With a father behind him like that, you can't help but think that Eddie Robinson Jr. will be a tremendous success. Already is.
And the Oilers didn't have a first-round draft pick, so Eddie was their first choice, and he's been getting a lot of attention in Houston.
Good selection.
Coming up next, the backup battle. Who's winning, Steve Walsh or Mike Buck?
And we'll take you back to 1981 when a former Oiler coach led the Saints into the Astrodome.
Regular season matchups against Houston, the Saints have 3 wins, 3 losses, and a tie. The most memorable game in the series came back in 1981, as we see in this week's great game in Saints history. First-year coach Bum Phillips was making his return to the Astrodome, where he had coached for the previous 6 seasons, and the fans in Houston gave him a warm welcome. And the Saints came out fired up. Number 55, linebacker Rob Nairn, and the defense stuffed Earl Campbell. Rookie Ricky Jackson kept the pressure on Ken Stabler, while another rookie, George Rogers, picked up 142 yards on the ground. Former Oiler Jack Holmes scored twice for the Saints. And Archie Manning had an outstanding day. Here, Manning connects with another former Oiler, Guido Merkins. Merkins picks up 34 yards on the play. That set up this strike to Wayne Wilson, as the Saints made Bum's return to Houston a memorable one, pulling out a tough one over the Oilers. The final, Saints 27, Oilers 24.
Bum Phillips was back in the Dome Saturday. He's the football analyst on the Houston Oiler Radio Network. 11 current Saints played for Bum, including quarterback Bobby Hebert. Hebert is clearly the #1 guy, but the rest of the depth chart is a question mark.
Do the Saints have a new #2 quarterback? Mike Buck played 1 series in the second quarter, all of the second half. Steve Walsh was a spectator, wondering about his Saints' future.
Well, you certainly wonder, you know, when you're not getting out there and getting a chance, you know, but they'll make their decision based on what they've seen through training camp, through preseason games, and they'll try to make a decision that best suits the team.
I can't complain about the amount of practice time and the amount of playing time that I'm getting. You know, I just got to go out and put points on the board, and we didn't do that today, and it's just something we gotta go back and look at the films and try to solve some things.
Buck was 10 of 20 passing for 101 yards. Coming up next, we'll preview the Thursday night date in Baltimore with the Dolphins.
And we'll take you to Atlanta for the opening of the Georgia Dome.
And in our Fashions by Barry Manufacturing, America's best men's clothing value.
The NFL now has 7 dome stadiums. On Sunday, Atlanta unveiled the Georgia Dome, and it was as pretty as a peach. The stadium will host basketball and gymnastics in the 1996 Summer Olympics, but for now, it's the home of the Atlanta Falcons. In town, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Saints' opponent on opening day, and Randall Cunningham is back. Cunningham he'll be running in 92. Here he proves his point, going 40 yards with some nifty running to set up a field goal. Chris Miller also back for the Falcons and fighting to pick up where he left off last year on the Falcons' first offensive play in the Dome. What else? They planned to go long. They did. Miller hit New Orleans native Michael Haynes for 76 yards and the score. The Falcons opened the Dome with a win, the final 20-10.
Before the Saints get to the Eagles, they've got one more preseason game, a date with the Dolphins in Baltimore. Last year, the Saints and Dolphins met in the preseason in Miami. Dalton Hilliard took this one in from 10 yards out as the Saints built a 17-7 halftime lead. But the Dolphins rallied. Mark Higgs will take this one into the end zone. They said he fumbled after he crossed the goal line. The Dolphins won it 28-24. And Ed, for the third time in preseason, the game will be nationally televised in your face on ESPN.
Saints ought to get into someone's faces, huh? After what they did against the Oilers. Don't know if TV is good or bad. Probably it's good because the Saints have a chance to show the rest of the country, hey, we're not as bad as we looked. And of course, the final cuts will be coming up after this game. For a lot of guys, the last chance to change a few minds. Maybe show Jim Mora they deserve to be on the football team. We'll see how it goes. That wraps it up this week on Saints Sideline. I'm Ed Daniels.
I'm Alexander Laurent. We'll see you next week on Saints